Assume for sake of argument there was no evidence, because Jack Smith said, I didn't tell them they were senators, so you're leaving out a lot of details. So assume, this is a hypothetical, you've argued in court many times, the hypothetical is the Department of Justice told him nothing. I believe that hypothetical to be true, but assume the hypothetical.
What you just watched is exactly why so many Americans are starting to lose trust in institutions that are supposed to stay neutral. Welcome back to America Wake. I'm Wilson, and today we need to talk about what Senator Ted Cruz exposed in that hearing. Ted Cruz kept asking one simple question. If the Department of Justice gave Judge Boasberg no actual evidence, then why were these orders being signed in the first place? That question completely changed the conversation. The law professor tried to defend the process at first, but Cruz kept pressing for a direct answer. And in the end, the professor admitted that if no evidence was provided, then approving those orders would be inconsistent with the law. That is a huge admission. This goes beyond politics. It's about whether judges are carefully reviewing government requests or simply approving them without demanding proof. Before we get into the full breakdown, make sure you subscribe to America Wake, like this video, and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload.
Thank you, Professor Vladeck. I would note you're a very talented law professor and appellate advocate, and you said, gosh, Judge Boasberg followed the law. Well, he plainly disregarded the law regarding non-disclosure of senators, subpoenas targeting senators, but set that aside. Your defense of him is he didn't know. Well, if he didn't know, that's because Jack Smith was engaged in wild misconduct by not telling the judge. But apparently the judge didn't give a damn because he didn't think to ask. But let me just ask you, did Judge Boasberg have any factual basis whatsoever to sign multiple orders that says the court finds reasonable grounds to believe that such disclosure telling the senators will result, not may result, will result in the destruction or tampering of evidence, intimidation of potential witnesses, and serious jeopardy of the investigation? And I would note to you that the claim now is he didn't know who the hell it was. So did he have any possible factual basis other than a brooding animus to all Republicans and that all Republicans are criminal? Is there any other conceivable basis?
Senator, I haven't seen the government's application. Perhaps you have, and I don't want to risk delving into areas that are confidential. But without having seen the government's application for the NDO...
You're very clever. What do you think?
I mean, I can speculate that there was very likely information in the application, given that the grand jury agreed to issue a subpoena.
All right, assume for sake of argument there was no evidence, because Jack Smith said, I didn't tell them they were senators, so you're leaving out a lot of details. So assume, this is a hypothetical, you've argued in court many times, the hypothetical is the Department of Justice told him nothing. I believe that hypothetical to be true, but assume the hypothetical. Is there any basis for signing these orders over and over again without the judge saying, gosh, can you give me one piece of evidence before I sign this order?
So, Senator, you're asking me to answer whether the Justice Department provided no factual proffer and he approved the application.
No, I'm saying if DOJ provided no facts to support this, would Boasberg have any basis for signing it without any factual predicate whatsoever?
I mean, I think the question would just then become, what was the standard practice? And on that regard, I would defer again to the letter that
I don't care if the standard practice is to be lawless. My question is, you're a law professor. You've been an appellate advocate. As a judge, one day, if there's a Democrat in the White House, you may be a judge. That wouldn't surprise me at all. Would any judge have a basis for signing an order with zero evidence and saying, the court finds? Is that consistent with the judicial oath, yes or no, assuming the hypo of no evidence?
If the Justice Department had provided no evidence in support of it, then I would think that an order that nevertheless approved it would be inconsistent with the law.
I do as well. Senator.
After watching the full exchange, I think Ted Cruz completely controlled this discussion because Cruz stayed focused on facts. Not assumptions, not political spin. Facts. These were serious non-disclosure orders connected to subpoenas targeting senators. If a judge signs an order claiming disclosure would lead to witness intimidation or destruction of evidence, there should be solid evidence backing that claim. But during this hearing, nobody could clearly point to what evidence Judge Boasberg actually relied on. Instead, the answers kept sounding like, maybe the DOJ had more information. Perhaps something was sealed. That's just standard practice. But Ted Cruz would not let the conversation drift away from the main issue. Cruz kept bringing it back to the same point. If there was no factual basis, then those orders should never have been approved. And honestly, that's common sense. Judges are supposed to act as a check on government power. They are supposed to ask questions and demand proof before signing off on major legal actions. One of the strongest moments was when Cruz pushed back on the idea of standard practice. Just because something happens regularly in Washington does not make it lawful. Eventually, the professor admitted that approving an order without evidence would be inconsistent with the law and with a judge's duty. That basically confirmed Cruz's argument. Now, to be fair, we still do not know every detail behind these orders. Some information may still be sealed. But that is exactly why transparency matters. People lose trust when powerful institutions refuse to clearly explain their actions. In my opinion, Ted Cruz did what oversight is supposed to do. Cruz asked direct questions, stayed focused, and forced the discussion back to accountability. Let me know what you think in the comments. Do you think Ted Cruz exposed a serious legal problem here? If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to like, subscribe, and share the video. This is America Wake. I'm Wilson, and I'll see you in the next one.